to 175 and the safety popped. So we need to adjust our pressure switch. I hear it leaking. Oh, it's because we haven't Alright, so we're gonna have to back off this a little bit. It's too much, unless it's just froze up. Let's see. Even if it was froze up. We'll back off of it a little bit and then we can adjust it up as needed. Alright, I've got it to where it's on the verge. It tripped, you know, unreleased. We're at, judging by this gauge, about 145 psi. So it tripped. So I tightened it down a few turns and bumped it, and it engaged again. So let's see if it'll cut out now. 155. Let's see. I'm gonna tighten it down a little bit, and we're gonna. It was probably set to 175. I'll probably set it to maybe 165, and we'll go ahead and set it and see if we can get it closer to that. Like I said, it's about 155 right now. This pressure gauge is so hard to read that I was thinking this was 200 and this was 175. It got up to 200, and that's when this kicked off. So that shows we've got a good compressor. It'll pump up 200 psi. So yeah, I've got it stopped now at 175. So I manually stopped it. It did not kick out, so we're gonna have to what you've got here, and I've got it unplugged. What you've got is pressure goes up here, and it's got a little valve that as the, you know, it's pushing up on a little plunger, I guess you could call it, and it pushes against this spring, and this spring, when it overcomes the spring, it pulls the contacts away. So the more spring pressure you have, the more force it takes to push against the spring, you know. So the more air pressure it's going to take to overcome the spring. So if you loosen this up, it takes less air. So we're going to have to loosen this up. So I'm going to loosen it until it kicks out, trips out. All right, it tripped, and I went about 1 turn more just to back it off just a hair. And I know if I need to, I can tighten it down about 1 more turn. So we've got it adjusted right. Like I said, it's still unplugged. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and put this cover back on. And it's tripped, so we can plug it in and it won't turn on. So now, let me go get a blow-off air blower, and we'll blow this thing off. And we'll see at what point it kicks back on, and at what point it cuts back off. All right, this hose is a mess. It's so stiff, and then the end, the fitting leak. So looking at it, it's about 165. I guess we can time it and see how long it took for it to reach from 130 to 165. To me, it seems a little on the slow side, but it's pumping good pressure. So I guess it's okay. I was wondering if the rings were worn on it, but I guess it's possible maybe the first stage rings could be worn a little bit, or I don't know. I need to look up and see what the time is. I know my 60-gallon 2-stage, it always ran a long time, and maybe I've got, since it's out of commission, it's been out of commission for over a year, maybe I've gotten spoiled to the single stage 5-horse 30-gallon compressor I have, and it puts out more CFM than my 6-horse 2-stage does. And so maybe I've just gotten used to, it has a quicker fill time, because it's half the tank size, and this is even more, it's 80 gallons, so maybe this is normal. I definitely think the second stage is working fine because it built up 200 psi, and you couldn't ask for more than that. So I guess I'll do some research. I think it's probably fine. I think I wasn't gonna paint the thing, but maybe I will. I'll see what paint I have. Maybe I'll throw some paint on it. I'm not gonna do a awesome job. I might just. I'm debating on that. I don't want it to rust anymore, so I might, if I've got some Rust-Oleum, I might just throw some Rust-Oleum on it. But I think we've got a good compressor here. I need to check for leaks. kind of all around it, you know, the drain where I put that in, just make sure I've got no leaks. I'll mix up some soapy water in a spray bottle, spray it down, and that, I don't know if I mentioned it, on the compressor I tightened that fitting down and it stopped leaking, so we're good there. So I think we got a good compressor, and I'm gonna say that probably, well, for sure, when that guy got it, it was a working compressor. But you know, sitting outside and that dirt dauber on that inside the motor, you know, that's where our issue was. The start capacitor was fine, but like I said, it looked awful. So I feel better, I guess, now having opened that, you know, and cleaned the inside of that cover out, put a new capacitor, clean those connections. I've had all the connections undone now on the motor and cleaned all those up, so you know, we shouldn't run into any issues related to that. And those run capacitors were fine, so I think we're good. I need to get a another one of these fittings here, or whatever you want to call it, clamp, conduit, whatever. I need to get another one of those. I'll probably just put the file one and put the top on it, so I don't have to redo the motor connections. So need to do that and figure out what I'm going to do here. I'm thinking I'll need, you know, some 3/4 pipe and some definitely a ball valve. I think we're going to turn it towards that way, but I think I'll wait to do that till I get this actually in the shop to know where I want my fittings going. I don't know how it's going to fit best. I'm kind of thinking it may fit best at a 45-degree angle, but I'm not sure. So we'll see. I want to get it where I can, you know, because we've got a pressure gauge on the opposite side. I want to get it where I can see the pressure gauge and the fitting. It's nothing to say I couldn't put the pressure gauge over here though, but that pressure gauge is working, but I'll definitely get a new one because it's almost impossible to read. And I did find a piece of 3/8 pipe, so I'm going to leave it off for right now, but this will go in here and that'll go there, and that gets us past the board for our tank drain. So I'm going to leave it off to make sure I don't bump that on something when I'm moving it. Yeah, it all looks good. We're going to clean it up some more and get some of this green off of it. And the thing needs to be pressure washed, but I'm not getting this thing wet. So we'll figure something else out how to clean it. I'm going to go ahead and unplug it, and I'm going to start cleaning it, and might hit it with something just to knock, just some sandpaper to knock the heavy stuff off, and throw some paint on it. You can't look close. That's all you get to see, because there is about 1 million runs, 1 million overspray spots. Didn't tape off the stickers, didn't tape off anything. I just threw some paint on it. You step away really far, it looks really good. Yeah, I had 2 cans of red paint and 1 can of black paint, flat black. And so I went over the shroud with flat black and touched up around the motor. I didn't spray any on the pump. Motor came out looking really good. The red I had was some pretty pretty awful paint. It does not spray well. It runs like crazy. It's just yeah, it's Rust-Oleum, but it's older, and for whatever reason it does not spray very well. I've had it a while, so it is what it is. You know, the main thing, I just wanted to keep it from rusting anymore, and so I did take some sandpaper and knock off the heavy stuff off the tank and the shroud, and everywhere I painted, I went over it with sandpaper and then cleaned it off afterwards. So I did put a little bit of prep into it. I just cleaned the stickers off after I tried not to paint too much on them, and overspray did get on them, and I just cleaned them off before the paint set. But yeah, it's got runs in it. It doesn't look that great. I did not paint the top here, just because there's just too much stuff, and it's not that rusty, and I didn't care too much if this rust, you know, that will last forever. The tank, I don't want to, you know, get a rust hole in it. So yeah, the motor looks really good. Came out really nice. And then I just kind of wiped down the compressor. We'll try to clean it up a little bit more. Not real sure what to clean it with, but now, you know, I've got the tank painted, so it's gonna be a while before we can put any kind of cleaner on there. But I think it looks pretty good. You look up close, you can see runs everywhere. If it really bothers me, once it dries, I'll sand the runs off and put another coat on it, but I'm thinking I'm okay with it. It's also a little bit cold for paint. This side over here sprayed a little better. I had two cans of it. The second can sprayed a little better than the first can. And so this side actually is a little bit better. But I got up underneath it, got the feet. So I think we're in good shape. I'll let that dry, and then we're gonna move this thing into the shop. So hopefully it will. Hopefully it'll work out well. You know, I think it works well. I think it's gonna be a good one.